We now move to another type of question, the WH question. Now in English, if we notice carefully, we'll see that there's two ways to make questions. Sometimes we move the English word to the beginning of the sentence, and sometimes we leave it where we normally expect it. Now, in these sentences, we have the words move to the beginning of the sentence. Because if we were to leave it the question where we normally expect it, you see they'd be in a different place. This is called a transformation, when we take a word from where it would normally be in the sentence and move it to the beginning or move it to the end or move it somewhere else. So the question, where are you from, is a transformation question, whereas the question, you are from where, is a question called an in situ question. In English, we do this whenever we're expressing surprise or maybe we didn't hear the full sentence. The question in English, who did you see, is a question with a transformation. The who's been moved to the beginning of the sentence, because otherwise the question would be you saw who, or if you're formal you would say whom did you see, and you saw whom. And then finally the question who told you, you see is the same either way, because it's a question about a subject, and in English subjects already come at the beginning. So if you have a subject at the beginning of the sentence, whether you move it to the beginning or not, it's already at the beginning. So in that case, questions about subjects don't matter. The transformation or no transformation, they remain the same. Now in ASL we also have these options, two different types of questions, questions with a transformation and questions with no transformation, in situ questions. So let's start with in situ questions, where the question word is left exactly where it is. So the first example would be who killed rabbit. And notice you use the WH question face, which is the furrowed eyebrows, and it would be, again. Now in that sentence, who is at the beginning because it's a subject, and in ASL subjects come at the beginning. SVO, remember that's the deep structure of the ASL sentence. So it's okay to leave the subject word at the beginning. In the next question we have, here we have the what where the object would normally appear right after the verb, because remember the base structure, the deep structure of ASL is subject, verb, object, and so objects would go right there after the verb. And this is okay. It's okay to ask questions like this in ASL. I know that you're thinking, well, the first question already has the word at the beginning, and I thought ASL always has the question word at the end. But that's an oversimplification. You can leave the question word in the beginning or middle of the sentence depending on where it would normally be. It's called in situ. If it's a question about a subject, well, you're going to ask that who or that what at the beginning where subjects go. If it's a question about an object, well, you're going to ask it after the verb where objects go. But you are right. Most of the time, ASL questions are put at the end. It just depends. Are you questioning the subject or questioning the object? If you question the subject, you have an option. Maybe leave it at the beginning, maybe move it to the end. If you're questioning the object, then your question word's already going to be toward the end of the sentence. Although in this sentence, you eat what yesterday, you have the time right after the question word, so it's not quite at the end. But just make sure you understand that there is the possibility of leaving question words in different places in sentences. Questions about subjects, questions about objects as well. That said, transformations are very common. It's more common to move that question word all the way to the end of the sentence. So it's more common to sign something like, or you could make the sentence a topic with the question word left at the very end, or in which case you have the option of either having your eyebrows furrowed through the whole sentence or topicalizing the sentence except for the question word, which you put with the WH expression at the end. Either of these is okay. Now, remember, the question involves the subject. With subjects, if you leave them in situ, then they're going to come at the beginning before the verbs. So you would have sentences like, or this is the classifier for an animal walking away. So maybe I don't know what that is, and I sign. That would be an in situ question, where the question word stays at the beginning. Or you have the option of moving it to the end, as we saw earlier with the transformation, where the question word gets moved to the end. And that would be the examples like, or So, you're always safe to move your question words to the end. Transformations are never wrong, but just be careful because remember, question words can appear in other places in ASL sentences if they're left in situ. Now, sometimes you'll see a combination of these, where you'll see the question word in situ, as in, excuse me, I keep wanting to sign who eat tomato. Or you could see that question word again. So you could see this is not an error, it's another option. Also remember with WH questions that sometimes there are questions that are formed with no apparent question word. So for example, with just the facial expression, you can ask, what is the name? What is the color? What is the time? What are you doing, or what should you do? Or what should I do? That question has a lot of possibilities. What is it, the purpose of this? Which, by the way, should not be confused with the normal ASL sign for. They're different signs, the rhetorical question and the sign for. What kind? How tall or how tall? What size? How long and how many? Those questions are formed simply by signing the sign with the facial expression. There's no need to include the English word with those.